WG HD2 Northport and W265CG Tuscaloosa. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide HD2 Northport and W265CG Tuscaloosa. A Town Square Media station.
One man to beat, you can forget about it. Touchdown, Alabama.
Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Alabama 1st and 10 on the 12. Again, Houston. He's got a hole. He's over. Alabama touchdown.
I'm just wondering if your listeners know how good a football player you were. I can still see you playing that fullback, knocking those players out of the way. And I believe I could have run behind you.
Martin, I can remember when we came to summer and you were playing fullback up there. And I saw you in the weight room. And watch you work out in the weight room. If you could pick up, you were strong enough to pick up the whole weight room. I wanted to pick it, and I running back coach didn't take the pass. biggest mistake we ever made.
The Martin Houston Show with national championship winning fullback Martin Houston, giving you 1 hour of intense, hard-hitting analysis from an insider's perspective. It's time for the Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Your mic is going hot. Oh.
Good morning. Welcome to the Martin Houston Show on Tide 100.9 on your radio dial, the Martin Houston Show fan page on Facebook. It is a beautiful Tuesday morning. We are live and local and ready to get things going. So glad that you've chosen to be a part of the program this morning. Let's keep things rolling, getting you in on the conversation at 205-342-9904, 205-342-9904. The Taco Casa hotline is open for business. Give us a call. 205-342-9904. Also follow us on Twitter at Martin Houston 35, at Martin Houston 35 on Twitter, and Martin Houston Live on Facebook. We want to invite you to be a part of the program. Good morning, Joe. How you doing, sir?
I'm having a great day today, Martin. Ready to see what you got in store for this wonderful Tuesday. Let's get it popping today.
All right. Want to remind you that this is the day that the Lord has made, so let's rejoice and be glad in it. Take some time this morning to notice someone, love someone, serve someone, be the difference you want to see in the world today. All right. A lot of news, Joe, out there happening in the sports world. One, of course, pertaining to former Alabama great wide receiver Julio Jones making a little noise in the world out there about whether he wants to be traded or not. So what do you think about the Julio Jones news?
I thought the most significant thing from the news side of things was whether he knew he was live on air or not yesterday. And if he did, that's that's fine and dandy. But if he didn't, that's pretty crazy what ended up happening, him calling into Undisputed. And maybe it was a bit, maybe it wasn't. But I thought that was the most interesting thing about it.
Yeah, right. The story was bigger about him, whether or not he knew he was on the air or not. And I don't know if that's still been the situation or not, but very, very interesting news when it comes to what's happening with the former Alabama great Julio Jones. Kind of talk about, Julio Jones to me has kind of a interesting career, Joe, and kind of talk about for a second, a moment, describe Julio Jones' career in terms of it's been successful, but yet it hasn't been successful, or it's been ups and downs. He's had a lot of injuries. Kind of what's your thoughts on Julio Jones?
Julio, I mean, first off, he's a Hall of Famer. He's that top level player who's come into the league. You remember when he first got into the league, the Falcons ended up trading up to get him. They wanted him so badly they had traded a large package to get him on their team, and he's been productive ever since. Outside of what you said, him having some foot issues, kind of the same foot issues that he overcame here at Alabama, always playing through injuries here at Alabama, and doing some of that in the pros, but had a year where he missed a lot of time. But he's a guy who's a consummate professional. He's always reliable whenever he's out there. Now, sometimes the Falcons have had trouble getting him the ball in the red zone, and that's interesting dynamic. So you look at Julio, and what do you think the Falcons might be able to get for him? He's going to be they're asking for a first-round pick, but as a 32-year-old wide receiver, I don't know that they're going to get a first-round pick, especially considering the contract status of Julio Jones. He's got 3 years. I think it's $38 million what the trading team would have to would be responsible for. So Julio is going to be an expensive asset to acquire from another team. I think he's definitely worth it for the acquiring team, but his expense is going to take a lot of teams out of the running. You were seeing yesterday on Twitter that a lot of pretty much every team is going to be in on Julio Jones. Well, that's not really going to be the case because of the price tag, both what you're going to have to give the Falcons and what you're going to have to pay Julio Jones. Are you going to be able to fit that his contract in your salary cap? He's going to be like you heard him say yesterday. He's going to be gone from Atlanta. The question is, where is he going to go, and will it be the last stop in his career?
And that's kind of crazy to think about that. Julio Jones may not be a Falcon, and as you said, I think he has this year $15+ million towards the salary cap, and that's what. If you wonder why the Falcons would even be considering looking at a guy like that, I think there's two reasons. That you look at that, and one of those, of course, being simply the fact that the money, and it limits what they can do with everybody else. The other fact, Joe, is Calvin Ridley. I think Calvin Ridley has shown himself to be a very, very nice receiver, and they feel like they have a guy that, if you take a Julio Jones out and you put a Pitts in, then you may lose a little bit of that production at the wide receiver spot, but do you pick up enough at tight end to justify giving up a Julio Jones? So that is very, very interesting. I guess the question would be, if you're looking at Julio Jones, to me, with that type of hit to your salary cap, you really have to be a team that's ready to win. You can't be in a rebuild process or a 2 or 3 year process. You need to be a team that's ready to win immediately. So where do you see a potential good landing place for Julio Jones?
Oh man, Julio! I haven't even thought about that part yet, and that's the fun part where he could go. Now, I heard yesterday that Patriots seem to be a rumor him uniting with Mac Jones, going up to Bill Belichick. That would make the AFC East very interesting with so many Alabama stars really in that division. Where else could he probably land that would make sense? Oh, hold on, Martin. I think you're probably thinking about
what would he mean to your Bears?
The problem is we don't have the assets to pay him. We don't have a first round draft pick or the money on the salary cap.
Right.
But he'd mean everything to the Bears. He'd immediately be the best receiver on the team, and he'd make for a great pair with Allen Robinson and really helping out rookie quarterback Justin Fields. I think that'd be a great thing for the Bears. They just couldn't afford it. It wouldn't be feasible.
Yeah. I mean, he is such a game changer and such a difficult cover. He's going to make whatever team, if he goes to the right team, I should say, any team that's on the edge or a contender immediately gets a big boost. Now, the joke was about him going to the Cowboys. Do you see that as any? He said he wants to win, and of course Shannon Sharp said, "Well, you're not going to go to the Cowboys then." But would the Cowboys potentially be a good landing place, and do they all of a sudden become more of a contender with a Julio Jones out there at wide receiver?
Well, that's another issue for the Cowboys is they can't afford it either.
Nobody can really.
So he's gonna, but he did tell Shannon that he wasn't going to go to the Cowboys because he's interested in winning. But if he did go, just hypothetically, that'd be a disgusting receiving core because you'd have Julio, you'd have Amar, you've got CeeDee Lamb and Michael Gallup, all receiving passes from Dak Prescott, who's a pretty serviceable quarterback, and then obviously Zeke Elliott out of the backfield. So if you can get that offensive line straightened in Dallas, then you'd have an amazing offense right there.
Yeah, I guess Alabama fans out there, how you feeling about your guy Julio Jones and the natural transfers? There's a lot of Alabama fans that are Atlanta Falcons fans, so we'd love to hear from you guys on what's your thoughts of your Alabama Crimson Tide, Julio Jones, possibly leaving your Atlanta Falcons, and Curtis Moore II saying, as a Falcons fan, I don't like the fact Julio Jones demanded a trade back in March, but hey, maybe he has his own reasons. So he said his reason for wanting out is he wants to win. How different would this scenario be, Joe, had he won that Super Bowl that they dominated the Patriots for about almost 3 quarters to only lose to Tom Brady and the Patriots? How different would Julio's legacy be? How different would Matty Ice's legacy be? How different would the Falcons franchise be had they been able to hold on to that one game?
Well, I think that it would certainly be different. The perception of the Falcons being losers and not being able to hold on to leads and that kind of thing would have been dissipated a little bit. But the biggest thing in this current situation, I think that the Falcons fans, if they had won that Super Bowl, would be sending Julio off, off in the sunset, saying goodbye and good luck and farewell and we love you, and instead of crying about him leaving and crying about demanding a trade. I think that if they had won a Super Bowl, if they had closed that deal, probably would be, looking to send him off and really embrace their rebuild, because really the Falcons need to go all in on a rebuild if they really want to readdress their franchise and become really competitive again. I think that they really need a serious rebuild. I think what it would do for Matt Ryan is that would have culminated his year. He was the NFL MVP that year. They had a great season, but nobody takes Matt Ryan very seriously. But they would if he had won that. He had finished that game and won that Super Bowl.
Yeah, I don't think you mentioned earlier Julio is going to be a Hall of Famer. He is. I don't think it's going to impact his legacy, but I think Matty Ice, he's in a different category than he would have been had he been able to hold on and win that game, not just any game, the Super Bowl against the GOAT. And, who knows how different Tom Brady's legacy would have been had he lost that game. Would he have gone on to win that one and another one post that moment? So don't know. Curtis Lewis said, I'm not sure Julio is a Hall of Famer, but I would love to see him with my Pats. Unless you have to have a Super Bowl, Julio Jones is clearly, after a 10-year career, Hall of Famer, in my opinion. The only person with more yards in 10 years, first 10 seasons, is Jerry Rice, and Julio Jones has missed the equivalent. If you add up all of his games and injuries, would you say he probably has missed 2 seasons, maybe more? He's missed a lot of games due to injuries, and then he comes back and he's still dominant. So he's probably missed 30 plus games in his career, spread out over 10 years. So anyway, we can continue that conversation. We're going to add DC Capstone Report to the conversation coming up next. Thank you so much for being a part of the Martin Houston Show. We'd love to hear your thoughts and comments on the Julio Jones situation. Also, LSU getting a new quarterback. How interesting is that for Mr. Bo Nix, Mr. Auburn? Did things just get more interesting down on the plains? And also, we'll look at Alabama's dominance in the AP poll era. That conversation right here on Tide 100.9 on the Martin Houston Show up next.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
From the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center, traffic is light as we kick off our Tuesday morning. No wrecks or delays around town. Of course, if you do see conditions, just give us a call. 205-886-8886. Other dealers may be out of inventory, but Townsend Nissan has an awesome selection. And yes, they really want your trade. Townsend Nissan. I'm Captain Ray.
Clay's Cleaning Service has a spotless reputation.
Take care of the windows. Hello, this is Clay.
But his business operations could use a light dusting.
I had you scheduled for next week. I'll just check here. No, absolutely. We will be there tomorrow.
Indeed can help him hire the people he needs.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. When you and conditions apply.
Do you suffer from lower back pain, knee pain, foot pain, or fallen arches? Do you? If yes, just stop and write this magic word, G-Defy, G-D-E-F-Y. What is G-Defy? G-Defy is the footwear designed by Gravity Defier Medical Technology with the worldwide patented VersoShot sole. Their shoes are clinically shown to relieve pain by a double-blind clinical study conducted by Olive View UCLA Medical Center. You can try a pair for 30 days with free corrective fit orthotic inserts. If you're not satisfied, just return the shoes for a full refund and keep the free orthotics as a gift. Put an end to suffering. Save $20 and get free shipping from Gravity Defier when you go to gdefy.com/radio and use code RADIO. That's gdefy.com/radio, code RADIO. You have nothing to lose but your pain.
At Townsend Nissan, your trade-in value is at an all-time high, and Townsend Nissan wants it today. Yes, we have a great selection of new and pre-owned vehicles starting at only $10,990. Wow, and new kicks crossovers starting at $19,990. Now that's savings, folks. Yes, we have the hot new Rogue and Armadas. Plenty of trucks here too at Townsend Nissan Tuscaloosa. We've got the inventory. And yes, we'll pay top dollar for that trade-in. That's the makings of a great car deal for you today. Townsend Nissan, Skyland Boulevard, right across from the State Trooper's office.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
Mostly sunny and hot weather continues today. Tuscaloosa's high 93. Fair tonight, the low 68. Tomorrow, partly to mostly sunny, the high also 93. Thursday, partially sunny, a small chance of an afternoon shower, the high 92. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 66 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
Scott Smith and Sophomart Design, doing business for 17 plus years, specializing in graphic design services, commercial printing, promotional products, advertising specialties, and so much more. Basically, any and everything you would need to advertise, promote, and grow your business. Through strong partnerships, strong customer service, and creative ideas, they'll help you market and grow your business. Give Scott a call at 205-292-4680 or email scottis@comcast.net and visit them online at sophmartdesign.com.
Interact with the Martin Houston Show by calling us at 205-342-9904 or tuning into the Martin Houston Show on Facebook.
All right, welcome back into the Martin Houston Show on Tide 100.9 on your radio dial. Martin Houston Show fan page on Facebook. We're able to do this because of the great folks over at Sophmart Design, the official outfitter of the Martin Houston Show. Sophmartdesign.com is where you can find them. They'll help you with all of your promotional needs as well as apparel and printing requirements. That's Sophmart Design. Give Scott Smith and his team a try. We have Robert on the line. We also had some conversations, Julio, regarding Julio on chat, regarding whether he's Hall of Fame or not, and whether he's first ballot or not, and whether he's a first round pick or not. Let's bring DC Capstone Report into the conversation. Good morning, DC. How you doing, sir?
Oh, doing great, morning. How are you this morning?
I'm doing well. Well, Julio Jones, we still don't know. The intrigue is whether or not he knew he was live or not when he was called by Mr. Sharp and said, "I'm out of here," talking about leaving the Falcons. Was it way? Was it an accident? Was it intentional? We don't know for sure. But what are your thoughts? Julio Jones no longer a Falcon. Good move for him, bad move for the Falcons. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think it's a good move for Julio Jones. It definitely it'll be good in the long run for the Falcons. I think this has been in the works for a long time. I believe at the end of the off season, from what I can tell from sources I have, that he actually asked for the trade. The Falcons were open to it. I think they've had some behind the scenes discussions and shopping around him, but haven't gotten anything solid yet. But I think a trade would definitely help Julio Jones. He wants to go to a team and win a Super Bowl. That's what he wants to do before he closes out his career. So I don't think he can do that with the Falcons. And he's looking for a team that he can do that with. The Falcons will get a lot for him, and he'll clear a lot of salary cap room if they can make a trade.
All right. Well, I guess couple questions coming up, and let me bring Robert in, and then I'll get to those questions. Robert, thanks for your patience. You're in with the Martin Houston Show and DC Capstone Report. What's on your mind, sir?
Hey, guys.
Hey,
I definitely agree with DC. It's been, 10 years, and they got that one shot at it, and it wasn't Sarkisian's shining moment during that Super Bowl against Brady. But yeah, he looks like he's not gonna have with the Falcons. But you guys didn't mention the Steelers. Goodness gracious, I can say all these teams don't mention the Steelers. Big Ben, who would love it, just air it out to a big target like Julio. That's a match made in heaven.
Oh wow!
Heaven.
Well, I mean,
I would love to see him with Pittsburgh.
Well,
he's on my short list. Pittsburgh is on my short list of teams I think you go to because he wants to go to a contender. And I think Pittsburgh has shown that they're right on the cusp, and they've done everything they could do in the offseason to get them over the hump, to get them back to the Super Bowl. So I think that would be a team good landing spot for them.
I think the Steelers would be a really, really good landing place. As you said, I think Big Ben would know how to utilize Julio Jones' skill set. And, of course, Robert, the listeners want me to make sure I let you Shanahan, not Sark, on the Atlanta Falcons, but that's okay. Shanahan, who has made it to a couple Super Bowls and come up short as a coordinator and head coach in his short career. I think he's going to be around a while, but he made some bonehead calls in that game. I think that showed, I call it the arrogance of an offensive coordinator when he made the play calls he made. But hey, that's neither here nor there. Back to the Julio Jones conversation. Here's the question I have for you, Robert, while you're on the phone, DC. Curtis Lewis said that he didn't think he was a Hall of Famer, and Curtis Moore replied back, "I respectfully disagree with you, my friend. Julio Jones is a Hall of Famer." And Curtis Lewis came back and said, "I'm not saying he isn't, just not sure he is. I know he's not a first ballot guy, but outside of that, who knows? He still has something to offer, just not worth a first round pick." That brings up several questions for me. And so my first question to you, DC, and Joe, you're welcome to chime in on this. If you were a contender, not building, not somebody that's hoping to be good, hoping to get down the road, but you're a contender and you have a 2-3 year window max to get the job done, what receiver would you take in this past draft over Julio Jones if they were all on the board? knowing what you know about Julio Jones?
The last NFL draft?
Yeah.
Of course, the obvious answer is nobody. I love you, Devontae, but we don't know what Julio can do in the NFL. There's nobody. You know, someone mentioned he's not a Hall of Famer. I'm thinking, so give me a modern era receiver that is a Hall of Famer over him. I'm having a hard time thinking of that.
So, I mean,
I'm sorry, I love you, but I get Julio.
Yeah, DC, who would you take in this draft over? Since people are saying he may not be worth the first round, if you had a 1, 2, 3 year window, who would you take over Julio Jones?
Nobody. Julio Jones right now, if I had 2 or 3 years to win a Super Bowl, he is the only receiver in the NFL that I think is worthy of a first round trade. They trade a first round pick for. If my goal was to win a Super Bowl and I was that close, if I was the GM, I wouldn't waste a minute in trading the first round draft pick for Julio Jones.
What about you, Joe?
No, I mean, Julio is definitely the most accomplished and the best receiver from this year's class. Right now, obviously, if you've got 2 or 3 years,
and that's go ahead.
There's a couple receivers that I would trade a first round draft pick for. He's right on the age line, the borderline at 32, but I think I still would trade a first round draft pick for him if I can fit him under my salary cap. That's the biggest issue right now.
Right, and that's what I'm saying is if you look at it, I put a condition on who would want him, right? I said a 2 to 3 year window of needing. Of having somewhere, and where would you immediately? And of course, I know the Falcons are not going to trade with this team, but where would you immediately put that with that type of quarterback that probably has 2 to 3 years? The Green Bay Packers. If you were to put Julio Jones. You already said Pittsburgh, Robert. I know,
you just described that scenario perfectly.
I know, but you already said them. So I was going to say the other obvious choice to me is 2 choices. One of them doesn't need him, but that quarterback would make it work at his organization. But to me, all of the complaints and all of the stuff about them not doing anything to help Aaron Rodgers win, DC would immediately go away if they were to figure out how to get Julio Jones to Green Bay.
Well, I agree. If they could talk to Aaron Rodgers and say, hey, we want to make this right. We want to bring you in on this. Will you stay if we get you Julio Jones? And he says, yes, I'll stay. Then that would be a no-brainer. I think I would do that if I was Green Bay Packers. I think the Pittsburgh Steelers are a great landing spot. A couple of teams you haven't mentioned that I think are great landing spots. You mentioned the Patriots, but I think there's 2 other teams that are out there that if they could fit him under the salary cap, would immediately be Super Bowl contenders. That's the Baltimore Ravens and the Tennessee Titans. I think any of those landing spots, Pittsburgh and the Patriots, those are the teams that they're on the cusp. And you're talking about Baltimore, Pittsburgh, and Titans. Salivate right now. One of them getting them because whichever one gets them, the other 2 are going to be out left wondering what could have been.
Oh wow, yeah.
Great talk, guys. DC, if the Baltimore Ravens get Julio Jones, I think my heart will just stop and I'll just give up on the season. So hopefully that won't happen. Great talking, guys.
Thanks, Robert. Wow. Now that's an interesting landing spot, DC. And as you were talking, CJ Watson said, I think Baltimore could be an interesting landing spot. What a target for Lamar Jackson. That would be great. And I'm going to tell you a guy, and of course this is not going to happen, but if anybody would know how to work it and make it happen and convince a player to do it, and they really have a short window, would be Tom Brady in Tampa Bay. And I'm not saying that would happen, but teams who know and a player who knows how to work his own salary and can convince the whole team to take a hit for another championship ring. He's already convinced all of those guys not to pursue more money and stay together so they could possibly repeat as champions. That's another one. But, those teams are within the division, so the Falcons would be almost stupid to to make that particular trade. But that just interesting conversation. When I hear that Julio Jones is not a first rounder, I'm like, who would you take? What kid would you take out of college right now if you had Julio Jones on the board and some kid that has the potential? Has there been any wide receiver since Julio Jones that you would take over Julio Jones right now? Hold on to that question. Coming back on the other side, is there any wide receiver that's come out in recent time that you would take over Julio Jones, even at this age, in terms of what's happening there? We'll be back with that conversation, as well as Julio Jones, a first-round Hall of Famer. That conversation and more up next.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
From the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center, we're seeing some congestion on McFarland at 69 and also at Rose Boulevard in Northport and on Skyland at McFarland and again at 69. If you see conditions, give us a call. Other dealers may be out of inventory, but Townsend Nissan has an awesome selection. And yes, they really want your trade. Townsend Nissan, I'm Captain Ray.
Hello, this is Martin Houston with the Martin Houston Show, and I want to tell you about one of our great sponsors, Overflow Express Wash. Their mission is to provide great customer service with a showroom clean car and an exceptional customer service experience. They have the basic car wash that starts at $7, but you need to check out the premium wash packages, which start as low as $12 and go up to $20. They also have a membership wash club that you can get for starting at $23.99, going up to $39.99. In other words, just double the regular premium package, drop a penny, and you can be one of the great members of Overflow Express Wash. My family and I keep our cars looking good inside and out by using Overflow Express Wash. They're located on Skyland Boulevard right next door to Alabama 1, or you can find them online at overflowexpresswash.com. Andy Phillips and his team look forward to making you a part of their team.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
It's the perfect season to power your passions during Dell's summer sale event. Limited quantity deals include up to $400 off Dell XPS computers and Alienware systems, all powered by Intel Core processors. Just call 800-BUY-DELL. That's 800-BUY-DELL.
So you think you have unlimited data?
Recalculating.
Think again. If you're on a network you can't trust, then your data is limited, and so are you. Get unlimited and save with Total Wireless. Get 4 lines with unlimited data on 5G from the network more Americans depend on, with 100 gigabytes at high speed, then 2G for just $25 a month per line.
You have arrived at your destination.
Total Wireless. Do amazing. Available at authorized dealers. 5G capable device and SIM required. Actual availability, coverage, and speed may vary. See terms and conditions at TotalWireless.com.
Sorry to interrupt your jams, murder mystery podcasts, or motivational beach noises, but we got something else you might like to hear. It's called cash. That's the sound of an extra $250 after your first 10 deliveries with Uber Eats. That's right, an extra $250 on top of all the other cash you'll make during those first 10 deliveries. If that sounds good, visit t.uber.com/extra250. Uber Eats, deliver with us. Limited time offer, terms apply. See t.uber.com/extra250 for more details.
At Northport Auto Supply, we understand there's nothing worse than a dead battery. So to keep this from happening, be sure you periodically check your battery, including the terminals for corrosion. And if you ever need help, then come by Northport Auto Supply and let our knowledgeable professionals check your battery for free. Northport Auto Supply has the area's largest inventory of batteries in stock, and we'll even install it for you at no charge. Northport Auto Supply. Why go anywhere else?
Welcome back to the Martin Houston Show, the sound of Bama sports. Your show, your team, on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Welcome back in. We're talking with DC Capstone Report. DC, tell our listeners where they can find you.
DCCapstoneReport.com or DC Capstone Report Facebook page. Or you can follow me on Twitter at DavidCott50. Also, check out Lance's other sites, RollTideBama.com and FreelancePictures.com.
All right. Well, a lot of conversation around this Julio Jones conversation. Got a couple callers we're going to get to here in just a moment. You know, as I was going to break, I want to go ahead and get that question real quick from you guys. Who is the guy? Is there a guy that you would take over Julio Jones in a scenario? Is there any receiver in the past 10 years that you would take potentially out of college over Julio Jones if you could go back to that draft class? DC, Joe?
No, not for me. I think I've made it clear that there's nobody I would take.
Joe, you got any candidates for that?
Well, I think if you think about coming out of college, Amari Cooper is a great option. Drafted number 3 overall. I think Amari would have been a great option. And really, I like DeAndre Hopkins as well. Hopkins. I'm sorry, DC. I think DeAndre is the best receiver in the NFL right now. So I would take him. I don't know if I'd take him coming out of college, but I would take him over Julio right now. Anyone else? I don't think so. I don't think there's been another prospect on that level outside of the 2 I just mentioned.
Let me ask you this, Joe, with that statement. If you remove the injuries from Julio, would you feel different about Julio?
No.
You still think DeAndre Hopkins is the best?
Is really special.
Oh, wow. Okay. It'd be hard for me to pass on Julio just because of the specimen, but I have some thoughts on why I think Julio gets injured a lot. But let's bring in Curtis Moore. The second, Curtis, you're in with the Martin Houston Show and DC Capstone Report. What's on your mind, sir?
Hey, good morning, DC. Good morning, Martin and Joe. Hey, I just want to get y'all's take on something here about this whole Julio thing. You know, I think it was a year or 2 ago that, you know, he asked for that big contract, that big money. And Arthur Blank, you know, he opened a checkbook. I mean, he got what he wanted and everything. Now we fast forward to, March of this year, and, you know, he wants to trade. And, that doesn't sit right by me. I mean, the organization did you good. I mean, like I said, maybe he has his own reason or whatever. My speculation, I don't know. I'm just speculating. I'm just a fan here. I'm just thinking it has something to do with maybe the new regime, Fontenot and Arthur Smith. I think it has something to do with that maybe. But because I'm just looking at the whole timing of it. But, I mean, they opened the checkbook for you. And Arthur Blank was saying, you know, Julio's going to be, you know, Falcon for life and things like that. So, I mean, I know you're saying you want to win and all that, but why the change of, I don't know, heart now? I just want to get y'all's take on that.
I mean, I'll go quickly and then pass it on. I wonder if he's lost confidence in the organization because they made some, you know, wrong choices, I guess, and how they've handled some things in his opinion, and maybe he doesn't have any confidence in the new, as you say, the new regime, and he's looking at, man, I'm 32 years old. I mean, you know, I'm on the downside of my career, and the Falcons are. I think he knows, and Joe mentioned it, I think he knows that they're going to rebuild, and at 32, he doesn't want to be a part of a rebuild. DC, Joe.
Oh yeah, I agree 100%. I think the whole idea is that he knows the writing on the wall is going to be a rebuild team, and he wants to move on, and while he has a few years left and win a Super Bowl. And the team itself, I mean, don't forget that the team itself did give him the big amount of money, but they're also trying their best to get out of paying that money. But they're the ones that want to trade him as well. It's not just him wanting to trade; it's a two-way street.
Absolutely,
I see.
Yeah, they do. Joe, you have any comments?
Oh, DC just hit it.
Yeah. It is. It's true that they want to get. They know that they need to rebuild. They know. Okay, if you're them, Curtis, do you think that the Falcons are Super Bowl ready in the next 2 to 3 years? If they don't, no. Okay, and the only way they can be ready in 2 to 3 years is to change their salary cap structure, and the biggest chunk to that is Julio Jones. Joe and I mentioned earlier about his Chicago Bears. I mean, think about the Chicago Bears. If they didn't have a salary cap issue and they can go out and get a Julio Jones with Justin Fields coming in, and, you know, they play pretty good defense over in Chicago still. And if they had a weapon like that, all of a sudden they're a contender. And so it's huge, and they're probably trying to get that rebuild so that in 2 to 3 years they will be ready to play again with some sort of competition. So, thanks, Curtis. And by the way, I'm going to answer your injury question. I posted it on a response on Facebook, but I'll answer it on there in a moment. All right, let's go to George.
Okay, cool.
All right, thanks. Let's go to George. George, you're in with DC Capstone Report on the Martin Houston Show. What's on your mind, sir?
How you doing, Martin? Yeah, I live in Macon. From what I understand, they have got to get rid of Julio. Before they can even, they're in such cap problems, they can't even sign their draft choices. They've got to make cap space, and Julio, that one swipe will give them a little bit of room to, to maneuver and sign their draft choices. Julio is I've been following Alabama since 1960, huge Alabama fan, and Julio is a unique talent, and he is a playmaker, and he can make plays that nobody else can. Just like in the Super Bowl, that catch before Matt Ryan was sacked, and they caused him to be out of field goal range. Julio does that probably 9 or 10 times a year. Now, if I were to trade for him because of his injury problem, and he's had injury problems, since his college days, because I think that physically he is so explosive, his body, parts of his body just can't handle it. And but he is a unique talent, and I don't know that I would give more than a second round draft choice, because I would have to be a team that needed that great playmaker every once in a while, and he is that. I mean, I have never seen anybody that can make the catches that he can and have the body control that he has and the size. The only person close to that is Devontae Smith, but he's about 2 inches shorter and probably 50 pounds lighter. I mean, Julio, for his size, has incredible body control. And he's able to twist and turn and get his hands on the ball that nobody else can. And I think that for a landing spot, it would have to be a team that has great control over their cap and also has a good balanced roster. And that would be the Baltimore Ravens or the New England Patriots. I think that, Julio would have trust in the coaching staff to put him in a position where he can be successful and surround him with a balanced team. The Falcons, first off, they just can't control their cap, or the regime that was there before. Now they couldn't control their cap. Arthur Blank would fall in he would fall in love with his players and, and sign them and put them in cap hell, just like Devontae Freeman, Matt Ryan, and Julio. You can't overpay at times because it ruins the structure of your salary cap.
Yeah.
And that's what they did. And they can't, from what I understand, they can't even sign their draft choices until they do something.
Oh, wow.
And that's kind of my 2 cents worth, Martin, and I really do enjoy your show.
Well, George, thanks. I know you're over there close to the thing, but you mentioned that about Julio Jones and the injuries. And I think Julio is like a NASCAR race car. And you know how NASCAR has so much torque and power in those cars that it's the little things that keep breaking. And that's why they have that crew there so much. To me, that's what Julio Jones is he is such a fine-tuned athlete that the torque he puts on his body and his muscle parts aren't the normal, and they just can't take it. I think that's part of his challenge. Thanks, George. I appreciate that. All right. Hey, DC, coming back to you. Joe gave me a stat. Even Julio has missed 26 games, DC, in his 10-year career, almost the equivalent of just 6 games shy of a complete season, played in a lot of injured games, and he's still just shy of 13,000 yards, second only to Jerry Rice. And I get everybody saying to me, it's based on what you need and what you're willing to do. Julio, if he wants to play DC at that type of team, he's going to have to sacrifice money for opportunity for a ring. So as we get ready to go to break there, Curtis Lewis gave me his opinion. He said Metcalf, Hopkins, Cooper, and et cetera, I would take. I'm not talking about you. No one would have taken Metcalf out of college over Julio Jones today. You may take Metcalf today, right, DC? But you wouldn't have taken him out of Ole Miss over Julio Jones right now.
Question was out of college, and there's no one that I would take it out of college over
Right.
Julio.
Right. My question isn't who you take out of the league, and Metcalf, Hopkins, and Cooper are all guys that you definitely would consider taking at this level, at this moment, over the Julio Jones of the world. Coming back on the other side, is Julio Jones, DC, Joe, a first ballot Hall of Famer? If not, what is a first ballot Hall of Famer at the wide receiver position? And are there any in the league today? We'll have that conversation on the other side.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
From the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center, we're seeing some congestion on McFarland at 69 and also at Rose Boulevard in Northport and on Skyland at McFarland and again at 69. If you see conditions, give us a call. Other dealers may be out of inventory, but Townsend Nissan has an awesome selection. And yes, they really want your trade. Townsend Nissan, I'm Captain Ray.
Here's what's trending on the Tuscaloosa thread. Good morning. The spike in COVID-19 cases at DCH continues to recede this morning. Cases at the Regional Medical Center had risen up to the 20s last week, but this morning, 8 positive cases are being reported by the hospital that receives patients from 11 counties in West Alabama. ADPH will be at Stillman College 8:30 to 4:30 today. They'll be dispensing free vaccinations to those 12 and older. The shots will be dispensed at Birthright Alumni Hall Gymnasium. Don Hartley, Town Square Media, Tuscaloosa.
Hello, this is Martin Houston with the Martin Houston Show, and I want to tell you about Tuscaloosa Custom Curbing. If you're looking for a way to add value to your home, make your flower beds pop, make your landscaping stand out from your neighbors, then Tuscaloosa Custom Curbing can help you do just that. They have numerous styles, but they feature the Moroccan Stone Curb series, which includes 4 great styles and unlimited color choices. That's Tuscaloosa Custom Curbing. They are the one that can help you stand out from your neighbors. Tuscaloosa Custom Curbing, 205-331-6823. You may also find yourself with the need for a custom size stone or custom shaped stone. Then Tuscaloosa Custom Curbing can help with that as well. Paul Fuller and his team are waiting on your call right now for that free quote. And if you tell them that Martin Houston with the Martin Houston Show told you to stop by, you'll get a big discount. So call Tuscaloosa Custom Curbing at 205-331-6823 or visit them online at Tuscaloosa Custom Curbing, LLC.
It's time for some straight talk. You've got real work to do, but everyone's sucking up the free Wi-Fi faster than a Mocha Choco double frap on ice. So be your own hotspot. Now with Straight Talk Wireless, get 10 gigs of hotspot data with the ultimate unlimited plan. Just $55 a month on America's largest and most dependable networks. You don't have to find a hotspot. You are the hotspot. Straight Talk Wireless. No contract, no compromise.
Compatible device required. See straighttalk.com. Have you wanted to speak a new language, but thought it would be too difficult? Then try Babbel. Babbel starts by teaching you words and phrases that gradually get more complex. Soon, you're practicing short conversations. So in 15 minutes a day, you'll be speaking a new language in a few weeks. Babbel is built around real life. It teaches you practical conversations that you will actually use. Babbel, language for life. Celebrating 10 million subscriptions sold. Now try Babbel for free. Just go to Babbel.com today. That's BABBEL.com.
Meet Bob Minetti. In 2016, he was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. Bob participated in a clinical trial that included cutting-edge radiation therapy and surgery. He's been in remission since completion. I'm Keisha Sharp. Since losing my mother to pancreatic cancer, I've been working to share the kind of state-of-the-art work being done by Stand Up to Cancer and Lustgarten Foundation. To learn more about the latest research, including clinical trials, visit pancreaticcancercollective.org.
The sound of Bama sports. Your show, your team. The Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
All right, welcome back into the Martin Houston Show. And I really didn't expect this conversation to take off the way it did, but it has. And a lot of thoughts and feelings about Julio Jones and first round ballot Hall of Famer Curtis Lewis saying, hey, Megatron would be a first ballot material. Megatron was absolutely an awesome wide receiver playing for the Detroit Lions. So probably didn't get as much love as he deserved, but I don't know who else would be in that category at this time. So I'll ask you guys real quick, and then we'll bring Pat in. Is Julio Jones a first ballot Hall of Famer as his career stands today?
If you're asking me, Martin, I'm thinking that he is, based just on analytics and stats and the years he's got left in the NFL. You know, where he stands right now, with the number of games he's played over this time, if you said over and over, only other comparison is Jerry Rice. And of course, Jerry Rice is the number one wide receiver of all time in the Hall of Fame. Your top three, in my opinion, are Jerry Rice, Randy Moss, and Marvin Harrison that are in the Hall of Fame right now. The only one not in the Hall of Fame, maybe Larry Fitzgerald. I'm looking at it, probably a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Yeah, I would say so.
I think Julio Jones is it.
Joe, you got any thoughts on that before we move to Pat?
Well, no, DC just hit it. Obviously, he's an easy first ballot Hall of Famer, and I think it's pretty clear.
Yeah, and like I said, I mean, it would be hard for me to not put him on there. So, but each person has their own way of looking at things. Let's bring in the Pat. Pat, you're in with the Martin Houston Show and DC Capstone Report. What's on your mind, sir?
Good morning, gentlemen. First off, I agree with Mr. Martin Houston on the fact that Julio is, and that that may go to Steve margins, but did Harold Carmichael make the Hall of Fame? Because Carmichael would be pretty darn special. What do you think, Martin?
I don't know if he did or not, but of course, Pat, I didn't like Harold Carmichael because I was a Cowboys fan, and he back in he mossed. Of course, he was before Moss, but he mossed the Cowboys quite often.
Yeah, well, my favorite, I had a favorite Cowboy there that number 22 seemed like to me he was one of the fastest human beings in the world at one time. But anyway, I just want to let you know that I agree with you on Julio. And if you go down by the schoolyard, you realize they made a song about Julio. Julio could be the first one picked no matter where he goes. He could be playing hopscotch or tiddlywinks, and he's going to be the first one to be picked.
That's probably true. He looks the part.
Julio down by the schoolyard. You've heard it, I know.
Yeah, I have not heard it, but that doesn't mean it's not out there, Pat. But
Simon and Garfunkel singing.
Oh, okay.
but anyway, it was great music. But anyway, hey DC, y'all have a blessed day. Appreciate what you do for us, buddy. And
I appreciate it.
Real quick before I go, what about that wide receiver that Alabama just lost to the portal? And darn, he looked like he was killing every one of our defensive backs. I mean, good Lord, if Lane Kiffin was to pick him up, it could be trouble.
Hey, Pat, someone else asked me about that, and I wish the young man nothing but success. But don't ever rate a guy by what a scout team guy that's working to get playing time does against a varsity guy and make a decision on that. There were guys that made me look bad at practice sometimes, but remember, highlight tapes are exactly that. Highlight tapes.
I was wondering if it was Dr. Film.
No.
I saw it. I said, "Oh my God."
he's a good athlete. I don't want to short Lanier in any way. So, but don't read too much into that. There's a reason I wish him nothing but success, and he's probably going to help somebody, become a better football team. But at Alabama, he's just one of the guys.
Yeah.
All right. Have a good one, Pat. All right. Hey, DC, I heard you were about to say something when Pat brought that back up.
Pat, to answer his question, Harold Carmichael is in the Hall of Fame, and his numbers already, Julio Jones' numbers are already better than Harold Carmichael.
So there you go. But anyway, well, DC, I want to switch over real quick to softball and get your thoughts on what Coach Patrick Murphy has done on the diamond.
Well, I think he doesn't get enough credit. Pat Murphy has done a great job putting this team together, holding them together during the COVID season, and then but you got to also give these players some credit. I mean, I don't think enough's been talked about Alabama going through the regionals, shutting out the opponents. Clemson was no slouch coming in winning the ACC, so Pat Murphy's done an excellent job. Probably had the easiest route. Now, does that mean they're going to continue to do that? I hope so. I hope they continue to do that and going in just like 2012 and win the championship. But up to this point, he's had a stellar performance.
If they win another national championship after hosting the SEC, they won't get to host another one for 20 years. No, I'm just kidding. But the last time they hosted and won the SEC tournament, they won the national title. The first one this side of the Mississippi, maybe they can do it again. All right, DC, tell our listeners once again where they can find you, and I appreciate you being on with us this morning.
It's great to be on, Martin. It's DCCapstoneReport.com, DC Capstone Report Facebook page, and you can follow me on Twitter at DavidCott50.
All right, that's DC Capstone Report. Want to remind you that tomorrow is Wild Card Wednesday. If you have any thoughts or ideas on topics, shoot them to me, post them, give it to them, and let us hear from you at Martin Houston 35. Remember this: trust in the Lord always, lean not in your own understanding. In all your ways, acknowledge Him, and He will direct your paths. Roll Tide, and have a blessed day.
Thank you for listening to the Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.